had never been enrolled, never been counted in any counts because they hadn't been in any of our other programs because of COVID. And so we had not budgeted for 20 extra students with autism. We didn't have enough class placements really for them. So they ended up in a lot of our cross-cap programs, but we didn't have the staff to support all of these students who kind of started wreaking havoc on everything. So we've kind of been scrambling now. So I think there are situations like that too, where some students just sort of, I don't want to say got lost in the mix, they just found alternate placements during COVID and now are trickling back into the schools. And I think a lot of them have never had any of those school readiness type skills. They weren't taught those in early childhood, or they weren't taught those in 4K. And so they're coming into the school setting, some of them as old as 7, just entering, and don't have necessarily the skill set that we would expect them to have at that age. So interesting.
That's a good word for it. Yeah, I think that we'll be seeing that for a few more years of just kids that who have taken alternate routes and now are coming back to quote, the system.
Mm-hmm. And we created an online school in our district over COVID, and I was told that the numbers of our online school are also down. So a lot of people that were very interested and wanted to continue that online component were even, I think, coming back to in-person learning. And the district invested just a ton of money in creating this online program, outfitting like teachers with all the technology that they needed to make it successful. So I don't know, interesting to see where it all ends up going in the next few years.
Yeah. I think that we should learn to have some more flexibility because of all this, but schools learn slowly.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that a lot of the tech tools that, teachers were so excited about, like having access to Seesaw, having access to, some of those online learning platforms are not getting utilized again. So it's I don't know, I even see in my kids' own school that a lot of that technology has kind of fallen by the wayside, which is a shame. I mean, I think nice to have some traditional type activities, but I think that online component, there's still a lot of value in that.
Oh, I agree, especially in areas where you would have snow days.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to go back and forth, but also it's where kids are going to be when they are out of school, so that they need the skill set of traditional school with minimal tech in preparing kids for the future.
Yeah. But it's interesting because I think more at the middle school, high school level, like I see still like a lot more Google Classroom, but then for younger kids, I think that's where it's kind of falling by the wayside again.
And we saw an uptick of teachers using UDLs, though. So I'm hoping that continues.
Yeah, I've not seen a lot of it in the district, so it's kind of sad. It breaks my heart because I feel like we took 10 steps forward, not just 1 step forward, 2 steps back. We did this huge, gigantic leap, and now it just seems like we're reverting back to the old way of doing things so much again.
The odd thing with the teachers using UDL here is that they're going to assistive tech to get them, to find out and to learn about them. And even the department that's supposed to be kind of doing those things is leaning on the two assistive tech people that they have now to get the information and to figure out how to distribute it. But it's a start.
We have tech integrators in our district, and those tech integrators are really good at like teaching Pear Deck, for example, or some of those different tools that are out there to all of our teachers when it's more of a tool that's, you know, deployed district wide. But I would say like things like Read and Write for Google or Snap and Read, those are still tools that we're managing. And
Yeah, no, I'm actually just even talking about the district-wide tools. We had a robust tech ed department about 4 years ago, and then we had a new administrator who wiped it. New superintendent. So
interesting how that administrative level has such an impact on, and I feel like because we just had to transition to someone else supervising our AT department, and it's so much just building that relationship and teaching that person all of the tools so that they find the value and they can advocate for them. But when you have changing administration, we've been through a lot of superintendents in the last few years, but we're somewhat insulated because we're such a big district that it's more of our special ed student services people that have more of a say over our day-to-day than even the superintendent. But it takes a lot of advocacy continually.
it does, a lot of education.
Mm-hmm. Quiet group today.
I know. How is everyone?
Cold. We're cold today over here. The going back to your conversation for a few minutes, how many of the school administrators I've told, I know this has happened at a few here, has told their staff, hey, we don't need to use it anymore. We're not going to use it anymore for some of the tools because we're in person now. We don't need that. You know,
That I have not heard.
okay, we've got a couple of cases like that here, and I'm like, really, really?
And that's part of our district-wide challenges, I should say, is just that our principals are the captains of their own ship. And so we have difficulty with consistency throughout the district.
Yeah.
And so each individual principal gets to make decisions based on what they feel is best for their school. So there's just a lot of inconsistency. I mean, even like things like conferences. So some principals were saying we're doing them in person. Some principals were saying we're doing them all virtually. Some were saying we're giving parents the option to do both, but it wasn't a consistent message across the district. So I think tools end up being a lot of the same too.
Yeah. I think we're finding because of the students that are coming out of the woodwork kind of thing and the impact in numbers that we're in a huge budget crunch too. So it's really hard to try to promote some things when there's no budget behind it to get, you know, to be able to go and have teachers learn things.
Yeah, I couldn't even get a Parapro or a Coda on my side when I was working virtually. It's like,
my daughter's classroom, they can't find paras.
yeah. Well, there's this new one. Well, not new, but it's new in the Pacific Northwest. It's in California and Georgia, called KyoCare, KYOKCARE, and it's they're BCA, BA, you know, board certified. And they teach the parapros before they go on in. So that's what I'm trying to do is get a job teaching parapros now.
We're having a lot of trouble just even keeping the ones that we have. I think the behaviors are so out of control. I mean, we've had paras who come in and worked for a day and resigned instead of coming back. I don't need this. And so it
Mhm.
is hard. And then in our role, it's hard to ever build capacity because you're constantly going in and you're training paras, new paras, you're training
Yeah,
new,
it's terrible.
you're trying to help develop those relationships for them to trust each other. So, I mean, that just doesn't happen overnight. So I think it's a huge capacity issue. And I think the whole great resignation, all of that is really impacting education right now and the quality of spec ed services.
And I think it affects our students with the most significant needs, like always, the most. So there's some of the classrooms that can't really function unless they have X number of paras that are trained with the students. And I said it snowed here yesterday, so my daughter was looking last night, she had 4 paras out of the 5 she has.
It's like, how do you function? I don't know.
Yeah, we're getting more and more requests for one-on-ones too. And so it's like, well, I can grant you a one-on-one, but I can't fill the position. So, like what good does it do almost? And
And
then
do
again, it's the quality of the people you're getting to even
Which is
apply.
resulting in the kids going into homeschool. I know in Spokane that the homeschool is a big thing, and the what do you call it? Um, uh, oh, the special education office, that oversees the whole thing, from the
yeah,
department. Yeah, they don't like it. They don't want everybody in school, but that's what's happening.
well, it also comes back to assistive tech. We're not able to go out there to teach the teams how to use the technology so that the students can be more independent and not need to have a one-on-one. How many times have I
Right,
heard it be because they need to
exactly.
when they need.
And then I took the education staff associate class because it was required in Washington. And they even have schools that say, we are not MTSS schools. So they said, well, in 2 or 3 years, they're going to have to comply, but they're letting them go for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
So,
so when we had our water meeting on Friday, it was just the few districts that were represented were all having similar issues, just staff retention. How do you train people to use the AT tools? How do you build that capacity continually when it's constantly changing? I think even
yeah,
that there's so many subs that are coming in. How do you get subs using those tools and able to support the students?
that's
Especially
why I think I would be a valuable person in training the paraprofessionals, but I'm kind of getting a little bit of slack with that. But I have a meeting today with somebody who worked at the she's a rehab counselor and she's retired. And I was going to be, I told you about Avail last week, the task analysis. She said, don't do that because that's your job. But they're in reorg or whatever. And I was like, well, I said, I'm not going to keep it to myself. But anyway, she was helping me do a contract there. So I'm going to have her, you know, vouch for me, I guess. So because I'm an occupational therapist, but I don't have the BCBA, but they only wanted you in the program. So maybe I could take a class or something if, satisfy that, but I don't know. But, I thought I could be a help because then I could teach the assistive technology part, which they're not getting, so.
Anyone have anything else? Any challenges going on? Any success stories? Anything? Oh, we could call it a short meeting too.
Well,
That works.
I had a interview and they said, you know, there was a parent coming. But what it was, I think there's a lot of maybe grad students. I don't, students haven't graduated because it's the end of the term. But there was an OT on site and so they got the job. So they don't want people, they don't want virtual trainers. But they're resorting to them because they can't get the other thing. They can't get what they want, so.
I see you, Jennifer.
So, okay, so did anybody start reading that book?
I'm sorry, I've got to go. I have a call.
It came on Saturday, so.
Oh, okay. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
My book came on Saturday, so no, I have not read it yet.
Oh, okay. All right. I got through 2 chapters. So.
Oh, looks like everyone's going. Do we want to call it a short meeting?
That would be fine.
Okay. You guys have your half hour back, unless someone else has something. No? Okay. Sounds good. Catch you next week on our special event.
Cool.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.